AITA for suing my parents for my college money. My great-aunt set up savings accounts for all of her female relatives. In our culture, education for women is not really valued, and she thought that was bullshit. She lived with her father in London, where she was educated. She went on to attend university and became a doctor. She married a British man, they moved to America and had a great life. The education of as many of her nieces and grandnieces as she could. When she passed away, she left money for every girl relative she could. My parents managed to access the accounts that were set up for my sister and they used it to pay for my brother's wedding. My sister didn't care because she got married 2 years out of high school and had no intention of going to college. When I graduated, I went to the bank to get money for school and it was almost all gone. There was like $13,000 left. I asked my parents about it and they said they had needed the money. I finally found out where the money went. I got furious. I got student loans and moved out. I am a great source of shame to. I don't give two fucks. I am currently suing them for the money that was left for me. My entire family is against me. They all think I am a complete *asshole for airing private family business in public. And that I am putting money ahead of family. My friends are alone my side, but they are all Americans and don't really get my culture. Neither do I, to be honest. My brother called me up and offered to pay for my university if I dropped the lawsuit. I agreed as long as we had a legally binding contract. He said I was being an asshole for not trusting him. I said he should not have accepted my money for his wedding. It is causing all kinds of embarrassment in our community. I am somewhat ashamed to be doing this, but want to have this debt I should not have. AITA for ruining a proposal? My girlfriend just bought a house and is so excited. She invited a ton of people over for a housewarming. She put so much work into everything. The house looked amazing, and the food was delicious. Right after dinner, while my girlfriend was getting dessert, her brother proposed to his girlfriend. I was mad because he hijacked my girlfriend that she worked so hard for. Before she could answer, I told him to sit down and quit being so rude and disrespectful to his sister. He was mad, but his girlfriend looked so embarrassed. They ended up leaving. The party was very awkward after that. A lot of people left early. My girlfriend's mom was furious at me because she wanted her son to stop living in sin and I ruined it. My girlfriend said I was sweet but didn't need to do that. Her brother texted me calling me a Rick. Was I an asshole for telling them to have some class? AITA for telling my grandchildren's father I don't owe his other children anything? I lost my youngest daughter Joy a decade ago. She left behind her husband and 2 children who are now 15 and 16 years old. My daughter was very closet to her dad and me, and when she was at her sickest, she begged us to stay in the kids' lives and make sure they always knew she loved them and that we were her family just as much. She mentioned how worried she was that her husband would them to forget her and would try to replace her for them with a new woman. She asked that we leave anything we might have left her to her children. We assured her we would never let the relationship end and that we would make sure they had a good life and would remember her always. 8 months after she died, her husband moved his now wife into their home. She had a baby with someone else and was also expecting a baby with someone. At that point, he did attempt to make it a package deal where we could not see our grandchildren without treating his now stepchildren as our grandchildren and that we were to treat all future children of his the same. Otherwise, we would need to be cut out to give our grandchildren the chance to form the new family bonds without interference from us. That they deserved the chance to have another mother and only see the new children as true siblings. Their lawyer told them we would have a case to get grandparents' visitation. We also sought advice on if we were denied access, if we could obtain that. We were told given our close relationship with the children it would be easy to get access through the courts. This led to us getting minimal access, but it was all that was needed because our grandchildren were glad to see us and their aunts, uncles and cousins. In the last few years my former son-in-law has found himself estranged from his own family and his wife's family are also no longer in the picture. Anda has 6 children, not counting my grandchildren, in his home with no family or support outside of him and his wife. Now that my grandchildren are teenagers, they seek to spend more time with us and their lives have benefited from it. We admittedly spoil them more than some would like because of the circumstances, but they are wonderful children. Their father confronted me recently about his other children and how they have no extended family and are suffering seeing their siblings being spoiled. He also said we had already come between our grandchildren and their siblings because they are not close and have never asked for their siblings to be part of the extended family they have. Had told me I owe it to his children to step in and give them love and some of the same spoiling. It told him I did not owe his children anything. that I would never forgive him for what he attempted to do before. He told me I was cold-hearted and callous. Part of me wonders if he's right because the children are innocent. And even though I have never considered them family, they are still young and nothing to do with my former Sil's actions. AITA? AITA for telling my sister she's the reason our parents are divorcing. About a month ago, my 24M parents, 55F, 57M, announced they were getting divorced. This has been a shock to most people as they seem to be behaving to issues out of the ordinary. However, I have been the one privy to the information of why they are divorcing. It's because of my sister, Anne, 26F. Anne is a deadbeat. She has never worked more than 14 hours a week since getting expelled from college for multiple acts of cheating and code of conduct violations 5 years ago. All she does is sit at home most days watching TV or going over to her loser boyfriend's house to get high. She feels no need to support herself and expects my parents to carry her through life. She's been in therapy since she was 14 but cannot keep one for more than a year because she gets dropped as a client due to her lying and inability to show up to appointments. My parents have spent over a decade trying to get some mental issue pinned down for Anne, and all they've gotten is she's just a lazy narcissist. Last year my mom decided enough was enough and planned to kick Anne to the curb and wash her hands of her. Dad disagreed, and in the end, the marriage got torn apart. I know because both have come to me basically admitting that if Anne was not a factor, divorce would not even be a consideration. I don't get along with Anne for a variety of reasons. She has always been a bully and owes me a large sum of money at the moment. The thing that boils my blood though is that she's oblivious to the situation between our parents, or just doesn't care. She had a literal tantrum when the possibility of the house being sold came up because she didn't want to have to move to an apartment with my dad. Last night I found myself at my parents' house and had the misfortune of talking to Anne. Anne mentioned that she's getting really sick of my mom's melodramatic hit and not just leaving the house to her and my dad. Something struck me at that moment and I just asked Anne if she really does not care that she's such a selfish, garbage, waste of space human that she's driven her parents to get a divorce. I elaborated and told her the full truth that she is in fact the only reason they are getting a divorce because moms finally realized that there is no hope Anne will ever grow up. The shitstorm this caused was massive. Anne acted as if I sold her out to the Romans and my parents argued between, she deserves to know, and, we told you that in confidence. Because Anne cannot keep her mouth shut either, the entire extended family has begun to hear too. I want to know before opinions start forming outside the inner circle if I am the AmItheAsshole here. AITA for lightly scolding a 12-year-old because the birthday gift he gave to my son was broken? Recently, we had a birthday party for my 32F son, 7M. He invited some of his classmates and our neighbors' kids who he's close with. One of them was a 12-year-old boy who brought a doll-type thing which glowed and made noises if you pressed a button. We opened the present later after the party, and even though my son was happy to receive it, I noticed that the toy had a cracked shoulder. The next day, when the boy came to play with my son and the other kids, I asked him who brought the gift, and he said he did it. I showed him the broken part and lightly scolded him. I simply told him that if he was going to spend money buying something, he should have checked the thing. I gave it back to him and told him to ask the store to replace it since it's broken. I thought, good life lesson, and that he'd remember this. It would help him when he buys something later on. It would teach him not to waste his money. However, later that evening his mom called me and told me that I was very rude to her son. She said, and I quote, "If someone gives you a gift, you just appreciate it and don't say anything even if ID's not that good. Especially when it's a kid." Turns out, he bought it with his own pocket money and had put a lot of thought into it. He did replace the gift, but he has stopped coming to play with my son. AITA? I genuinely didn't mean to upset him. I didn't even really scold him. I talked to him very gently and only explained it to him. Edit. Alright, I'll accept that I was and apologize. AITA for embarrassing my sister, Bill, and his friend after I was set up on a surprise blind date? I, 25F, have never been interested in romantic relationships. It just doesn't appeal to me. I'm very busy with grad school and work and I like being on my own. I have friends and a dog and that's honestly enough. I'm happy with my life. My family thinks this is weird beyond belief and the pressure has ramped up now that even my younger brother has gotten married and I'm the only one left on the shelf. My older sister's husband has been offering to set me up for years because I'm too hot to stay single, whatever that means. I've always tried to refuse politely, but it's wearing thin. I was home visiting my parents this weekend and my sister invited me out to dinner at a new restaurant. It was an upscale place, so she said, "Wear something nice." I thought it was just going to be the three of us, but there was another guy in the car when they picked me up. He said he was Bill's friend Joe. Awkward, but not too unusual. We get to the restaurant and sit down, and Joe keeps trying to make conversation with me, with Bill and my sister egging it on, and I finally joke, "Am I on a date or something? What's with all the questions?" And my sister straight up says, "Yes, we thought you just needed a little push, so we decided to set you two up." I asked Joe if he knew about this, and he admitted that Bill told him he wanted to set him up on a blind date, but that he was glad he came. So I was the only one that didn't know it was a date. I was pretty mad, but didn't want to cause a scene in the restaurant, so I finished dinner and gave really short responses to questions. "So you're in a PhD program?" "Yes." "What's that like?" "Busy." And the evening just stayed really uncomfortable and awkward. Joe apologized in the car, and I told him it wasn't his fault, but he probably shouldn't let Bill set him up again, and I wasn't interested in dating anyone. Apparently he told Bill off the car about making him look bad so that he didn't even have a chance. My sister is mad because I was rude and embarrassed them when they were just trying to help me out of my shell. My parents think I should have appreciated the gesture and given Joe a chance because, you never know, and want me to apologize.